Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I was hoping to do the Top Cut breakdown for the Latin American Regional, the other first event of Set 21 Wild Resurgence format, but that info hasn't gone public yet. Hopefully it's going public today so I can do that video tomorrow. But instead, I wanted to bring you guys a Set 21 deck that I shared with patrons last week, and that is the Blue Baby Aggro deck. Now, we did not see this deck top the Brisbane Regionals from Australia. I don't know if it had managed to top the LATAM Regional or not, but I do think this is a very, very good blue deck and a very good aggro deck. Been playing it quite a bit. I'm going to show you guys a list that I have been playing. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. If you guys want to pick up any of the cards for this deck or any trading cards for that matter, it does really help me out if you were to use my link in the description to TCG Player. I really do appreciate it as always. And if you guys want to see a how to play guide for Blue Baby, just like we've been doing, let's get this video to 150 likes, guys. You guys blew the 100 like marker for the Gohan video out of the water, so I think 150 likes is totally doable. But anyways, with that being said, let's get into the profile. So a few things about the leader. First and foremost, what's so good about this deck, or one of the things that's so good about this deck, it cycles through itself so quickly and efficiently, which is exactly what you want for an aggro deck, to see your super combos, see your aggro pieces, and to see your SCR. This thing is so good for that. And on the awaken side of the leader, one thing I do want to point out, or two things maybe. One is the self-awaken, which is super important, but also the second ability on the auto there, the ability to take one of your opponent's battle cards in their drop and place it under your field card, is so good against like the most random matchups. Like one matchup I've been playing recently, for example, is Expert Deck 21, where they want to recycle their Bionic Blitz super combos from their drop to the energy to their hand, and this thing being able to tuck their Bionic Blitzes under your field card is just such a good utility tool that this deck has going for it. Wanted to just make mention of that. So if you're playing against a drop area centric deck, this is a really good effect to be utilizing. Now let's go into the main board. We have 3 copies of Goku and Oob Newfound Journey. This card is so good in this deck. It's a great blue card in general, but in some decks it's harder to play because you don't play an adequate amount of Earthlings in every single blue deck. This deck, we do play a great number of Earthlings for this thing to search out, so it works out perfectly. Plus the fact that it's a 15k dual attacker is just great for our aggro purposes that we want to be doing in this deck. 4 copies of Bulma Domination complete. This starts off our brainwash count. She's able to be comboed from under the field during our opponent's turn when a blue baby's in the battle, so she helps us make super efficient Z energy. And this is a very similar deck to like Spaceship GT Goku, among other examples, that basically have a secondary hand on another location on the game board, right? This deck happens to do it under the field card, which we'll see later. But yeah, this card being comboed from under the field is like another card in your hand when you don't actually have it in your hand physically. Then we have 4 copies of Goten Domination complete. Solid removal, 15k beater, contributes to the aggro, but also helps keep the board under control. 3 copies of Bulma Domination complete. So admittedly, I could see cutting this card down to maybe 2 copies because currently we are at a 52 card list, and I probably want to get it down to 50 just to have maximum consistency, because once you take your field card out of your deck, you are a 49 card deck, and with all that cycling I mentioned before, you're seeing so much of your deck, and you really want to increase your odds of seeing your SCR. It's really important in competitive play. And with that being said, decking out is not even that big of a fear because of our Overlord ability. We're constantly putting cards back to the bottom of our deck. So yeah, decking out's not even a super huge fear. But why do I want to cut this card down to 2? Well, I thought originally it'd be very cool to be able to play this card, draw the card that it draws for playing, and then Overlord it to draw another card, but it's not super aggressive when you actually play this card to the board, so that hasn't come up too much. The combo ability is nice, does help us push for some damage, which I think is why I would still want 2 copies in the deck, but it's not as vital for actually casting Bulma as much as I initially thought it would be. 3 copies of Trunks Domination complete. Solid negate to have under your field card. Again, just that extension of our hand. We have 3 copies of Baby Bitter Revenge on Sands. Honestly, I haven't been testing against too many decks that are playing turn 2 unisons, but it is really nice for just playing it for 1, setting up our field card with our different brainwashes under it. That is also really good. And the 1-drop 20k beater, nothing to scoff at. Definitely a solid card. Then we have 4 copies of Vegeta Disciplined Warrior. Awesome that it's searchable in this deck, and it does have some other cross synergies with some cards that we'll see later on. I guess really just 1 card in particular, but still incredible because we get to 4 life pretty much whenever we want in this deck, so it's really good. Now we have 4 copies of Vegeta Disturbing Harbinger, and I think the other one drop is right underneath. Yep, Vegeta Tempered Body. So we're playing 6 copies of Vegeta GT 1-drops. This is important for multiple reasons. You want to start your turn 1 with one of these 1-drops because you want to make a super efficient Z energy on turn 1. And not only that, you actually really want your first Z energy to be a Vegeta GT. Now, don't go ahead and combo your super combo on turn 1. You definitely don't want to do that, but you do want to try to hard mulligan for either of these 1-drops. And the other great thing about them too is that they have that second auto that allows you to, when tucked under a field, if you're on your Awakened side or Z Awakened side, you can tuck another Brainwash and draw another card. So that really contributes to the crazy fast cycling this deck is able to do. Then we have our field card, of course. Not only was I talking about the Vegeta GT's ability to help cycle, but this card also says put a Brainwash underneath once per turn and draw a card. So yeah, we're seeing so much of our deck, which is such a great thing for competitive decks. Then we have 2 copies of Baby Shining Gold Evil Life Form. Some of you guys I think might be asking why only 2 copies of this card. Well, with all that draw power, I don't ever have a problem seeing it when I want to see this card. The other thing too is I don't really want to cast this card unless I somehow know it's almost like guaranteed game. Like if I know, let's say my opponent's really low on hand and they can't like combo out of it, or if I have a inkling that they can't really block or negate this in any fashion, that's when I want to play this, because in all reality, it's just a 2-cost 35k double strike beater, which is a really great level of power for 2 energy. But if my opponent's just going to negate it, there are probably better things I could do on that turn. Granted, it is also very nice that it plays more Brainwash to the board. When you play this card, you can play 3 Brainwash cards, 2 from its own ability and 1 from your UTP, just proccing because you played a 4-cost or higher baby. And that's really good for your Z Awakened turn because you can resolve Overlord on your Awakened leader and your Z Awakened leader. But that's a very, very costly play, and that's maybe one of the problems of this deck, is that it is a little bit energy hungry for a blue deck. You don't have all the energy manipulation that stuff like Soul Striker, maybe even the Android decks have. You are a little bit tighter on energy, but we are making very efficient 1-cost aggro plays, so there is that. But yeah, I only want to play this card when I think it's like almost guaranteed game. Then we have 4 copies of Android 17 Defending Friends. So we are playing a blue aggro deck. We're not playing a lot of the blue defensive stuff that a lot of these other decks are playing, but we do make up for that by 1, being very aggressive, and 2, by setting up Android 17 Defending Friends super well. We have a Barrier Z battle card we play super early. That puts this thing online. We have Bulma and other cards to make super efficient Z energy. We also have a Z leader that comes down relatively early in a lot of games. So this card is pretty much always live. And even though we're not playing like Sensu Beans and Beerus Destroys and all that kind of stuff, this thing is really, really good for helping us just make it to the next turn to try to kill our opponent. 3 copies of Dimension Magic. We are a blue deck. Sometimes we do want to open up some energy on defense for stuff like Defending Friends and not fully tap out. Then we can also follow up like a Trunks Domination Complete. 1 copy of Secret Identity Mass Sand. Honestly, after looking at the Australian Regional, I'm thinking about playing Bardock Awakened Instincts in this deck, just for that same reason I've been talking about, cycling through the deck faster, drawing more cards, and hopefully trying to hit your SCR, because a deck like this, the SCR is very, very important. It will help you win a lot of games that honestly you probably weren't supposed to win in general. 2 copies, Desperate Measures. You do got to still have your answers to Floodgates, whether you're up against blue and you want to answer Android 17 Defending Friends, or you want to go ahead and answer Mecha Freeze, Robotic Repose. Those are the 2 main matchups, but there are, of course, other situations where Desperate Measures is good. It's also really good against Android 21 if they happen to go first and try to ramp on you. In that case, you probably want to side more copies of this card, just a heads up. Now we have Gohan Beast, the premier SCR for blue aggro decks, even blue mid-range decks, I would say, to be honest. But yeah, this card is just so good in this deck, and the great thing about this deck is that it draws so many cards. Like, it also increases its hand size very, very heavily. Not only does it cycle a ton of cards, but it draws a really big hand. So when you actually go to resolve Gohan Beast, you'll try to put yourself in a situation where you only have like 1 or 2 less cards than your opponent, and your disparity is like not even that big between you and your opponent after you resolve Gohan Beast, and that's where you're probably gonna kill your opponent. 2 copies of Children's Army Reinforcements. A lot of blue decks don't play the token negate, but because we put our opponent on such a clock, I think this card is so good because it basically just gets you that next turn a lot of the times, because they don't have all this time to set up like their removal, their aggro, their pressure, their board presence. So this card in this particular deck works very, very well, whereas I probably wouldn't play it in like Soul Striker. Maybe I'd play 2 copies just for the awakening aspect. And that's the other thing about this deck too, is that we get to 5 life whenever we want, so this is like almost always live when we want it to be. 4 copies of Gohan Domination complete. Now, unfortunately, this is a TP that is required for this deck on a competitive level. Hopefully, it doesn't see such crazy prices. I have actually no idea what this is going for right now, but it is definitely vital to this deck's competitive success. And we have 2 copies of Ultra Instinct Kamehameha because we're a blue aggro deck. We want to be able to get up to those super high attacking numbers as efficiently as possible. Now let's take a look at the Z deck. We have 2 copies of Baby Parasitizing Complete paired with 2 copies of Baby Parasitic Premonition. So this is a vital early game play to establish this and then go into a 4-cost Baby. And the reason I'm playing 2 of each is because it's a Z deck way to proc our UTP to play more Brainwashed on command. So that's why we don't have to play so many 4-cost Babies in the main board. Some of you guys might be asking, well, how come you're not playing the Revenge Blocker Baby? Honestly, that card was just kind of sitting on my hand dead a lot of the time because I can either pull this out of my Z deck or just play Bitter Revenge on Sands or even proc UTP with Shining Gold, even Lifeform, depending on the situation that I'm in. But yeah, this has been really good, this 2-2 split. Then we have our Z leader, of course, definitely super solid. Don't forget that Z Awakening play I mentioned in the beginning of the video. You want to try to get as much value out of both Overlords as physically possible. Then for our last 2 Z deck cards, we have 1 copy of Goku Stronger Together and 1 copy of Beerus Area Annihilator. Now in my Patreon build, I wasn't playing the 2-2 split of both the babies here. I was playing the classic 1 Stronger Together, 1 Area Annihilator, and 1 Cell Awakening of the Created. But recently I've cut Cell Awakening of the Created because Beerus is really our only barrier removal in the deck, and I want to still have it in my Z deck if I need it. However, I am questioning the necessity of Goku Stronger Together because the main deck this was super useful against was SS4 Gogeta. Now that deck's banned. I can't really think of another deck that's going to get like a 14, 15, 16 card hand size like super consistently, where this card is going to be like 100% vital in the Z deck. However, it is still a good thing to have in the Z deck just in the off chance you face something that draws a crazy hand. So I don't know, this could be that, or this could be Cell Awakening of the Created, kind of whatever your preference is in regards to that. But overall, that is the deck, guys. It's been performing very well. It's a solid aggro deck, puts out real good threats for super efficient. It actually has a lot of free play, like, believe it or not, like a lot of free play from the UTP. Helping you put on additional aggression. Sometimes it is just 15k battle cards, but with Gohan Domination Complete, that free 20k definitely hits like a truck. But anyways, guys, I want in the comments below, what do you think about this build? Do you guys want to see that play guide? If so, like this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.